And recording in progress.
Hey, Daddy, this is the man of the champions, Bill Alfonso, giving a shout out to something else. Something else, Daddy.
This is Nickel Matata, Great Warrior Wolf, and you are listening to Something Else.
I'm Tony Cini, and you're listening to Something Else.
Hey everybody, it's Rich Palladino, the voice of New England, and you are listening to Something Else with Arya.
Degenerates and reprobates, welcome to episode number 203 of Something Else. Feast your hair holes on this week's episode as we take a look at Mid-South Wrestling and World Class Championship Wrestling from June 16th, 1984. My name is Arya, and joining me as always is the World Class Pat Rose to my Mid-South Pat Rose. It's Trae. Trae, how the hell you doing today?
I was so happy for you when I realized you were going to get to do your Pat Rose joke today.
I mean, it still isn't entirely accurate. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, at least I got to be close to an accurate Pat Rose joke.
Yeah.
So before we get too far into this, I just want to give a huge shout out to Charles Krantz. Congratulations on 39 great years. Thank you, Chuck. Now, Trey, you and I have been talking a lot this week, and you kept telling me things to talk about on the show. So
great.
we had to,
yeah,
we had to break some of this shit up here because, otherwise the show's going to be 3 hours of just you telling us these stories. So first up, you had a story about Bobby Fish and Hitler.
Oh, okay. So, and this would have been the first time I ever saw Bobby Fish wrestle too, because it was this was a Ring of Honor show. If I remember, I'm 99.9% sure the only time Ring of Honor ran the Boutwell Auditorium in Mobile, Alabama, or Birmingham, Alabama, and
Okay.
it was 2013, and this was like I was in my first semester of grad school, which means so like the past few years I had been in college, I had not watched a lot of independent wrestling. All right. So this is my first time seeing like a lot of people. Anyway, it's not really, it's just this was the first time I saw Bobby Fish. So this was my first impression of him. So the match it's a proving ground instant reward match, meaning if any of the teams beat the champions, they get a title shot right then. And it's Red Dragon who were the champions, and I think it was CNC Wrestle Factory, Cedric Alexander and Caprice Coleman, the ACH and Tadarius Thomas, whatever their team was, and Corey Hollis and what's his name? The guy who's a referee for AEW now, Mike Posey.
Okay.
Anyway, just for context, I'm in the front row, and I'm sitting next to a guy, and they do a spot, they hit the floor, and Bobby Fish is standing there, and at the time, you know what Bobby Fish looks like. He has that hair, black hair, and at the time, his mustache was not quite as luxurious as it would become. It was a little narrower. And the fellow next to me says, "Hey, Bobby, you look like Hitler." Which, to be fair, a little. Like, a little.
What did Bobby Fish have to say about that?
He looks at him and he says, "You look like an ugly fuck from Alabama."
Was that an accurate description by Bobby Fish?
I mean, he was just a dude. Like, I talked to him. He was a cool dude. He thought it was as funny as I did. And
Did you think he was an ugly fuck?
No, I didn't. I mean, not particularly. He wasn't like the Elephant Man or anything. He was just a dude.
I'm beautiful on the inside.
But anyway, 2 years late until like 2 years later, I'm in a Ring of Honor show in San Antonio, and I would go to do a meet and greet with Red Dragon, and I tell Bobby that story, and he popped for it. Like he didn't remember it, but he popped for it. He's like, "Yeah, sounds like me."
I thought
And
you were going
and
to
then
say that
after,
that young man grew up to be Austin Theory.
no, but as I coded to the story, so I was going to take a picture with Red Dragon, and at the time they were the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, and they had the belts. So I was like, "Hey, would you guys hold the belts for the picture?" And Bobby goes, "Do you want to hold the belts?" And I said, fuck yes." So anyway, that was how I got to hold the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag belts.
Trey, are you in a good mood today?
I
Like
am in a
generally
good mood.
speaking. Okay, so
I
if I
am in a
make a
good mood
joke,
today.
so if I make a joke about you, you won't get too mad at me for this one.
Probably, probably.
At that point, were you by yourself under the weight limit for the IWGP Junior Tag Team titles?
No,
I'm sorry.
I was not. I was thinking it. I was thinking the same thing.
Oh Lord. All right, so that is Trey's Bobby
However,
Fish Hitler story, which I gotta tell
however,
you
one.
is a lot better than I thought when he told me to remind him to tell you this story.
Hey, Minoru Suzuki let me hold the never open weight title belt, and I am within the weight limit for that.
I was gonna say everyone is. I I uh I don't know if I would dare hold Mr. Suzuki's championship belt.
I don't want to break kayfabe, but he was nice.
He was very nice to me as well when I met him earlier this year.
He called me
Um,
big guy, and whenever I need a self-esteem boost, I remember that Minoru Suzuki called me big guy.
Whenever I need a self-esteem boost, I remember that Willow knows who I am,
Oh, that's
or
amazing
at least
too.
or at least knew who I was the second time I met her.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so that was always nice. I don't know if I walked up to her right now, she'd be able to pick me out of a lineup, but hey, it gave me a self-esteem boost that she knew who the hell I was. Anywho, let's go to this week's episode of Mid-South Wrestling, June 16th, 1984. Let's go to the intro here with Boyd Pierce and Jim Ross.
From the Mid-South Wrestling Television Network. I'm your host, Boyd Pierce, and we have a lot of exciting action. We promised you last week, we're showing it to you this week, the North American Heavyweight title match between Magnum TA and Killer Khan. Also, tag team action sees the popular duo of Mr. Wrestling and Indian Jay Youngblood as they take on the Mid-South Tag Team Champions, directed by manager Jim Cornette. The Midnight Express, Dennis Condrey and Bobby Eaton. In between, we'll have a lot more matches and a lot of exciting interviews and things to look forward to. And the man that can tell you about them best is Jim Ross.
Well, Boyd, thanks very much. You know, ladies and gentlemen, we've said that Magnum TA is a great fighting North American champion, and that was evidenced very clearly on May the 27th in Oklahoma City at the beautiful Myriad Center. A great wrestling crowd was on hand when Magnum TA defended that coveted North American title against the giant 300-pound-plus Killer Khan, the man that broke Andre the Giant's leg. Killer Khan going for that championship. Cowboy Bill Watts has narrated the edited highlights of this match. The crowd noise was deafening, a tremendous crowd in the Myriad. Let's go now to May 27th, Oklahoma City, and Cowboy Bill Watts in a great match between Magnum TA and Killer Khan.
Okay, I like that JR threw that in about the incredible crowd noise because as we'll get to it, it's just as bad as last week. In
I
fact, I'd say
heard
it was
not a
worse.
word. I did not hear a word
Yeah.
this week.
And unlike last week, I didn't even go back in time and listen to whatchamacallit, to watch it on the cock just to see if it's on there or not. I just assumed that WWE and their production staff is much better than me at this shit, and they were able to get Bill Watts' audio a little bit higher.
Huh.
So we're gonna have the popular duo of Mr. Wrestling and Indian J Youngblood versus the Midnight Express, directed by Jim Cornette. First of all, how do we know that they're a popular duo? This is the first time they've ever teamed up, and Mr. Wrestling was a heel until last week.
I wasn't gonna bring it up until the match, but I was like, did I miss several episodes?
And then I just love that. I know it's 1984. I know, but it's like, Jay Youngblood is Native American, so every week he gets introduced as like Indian Jay Youngblood, popular Indian Jay Youngblood. It's like, okay, let Jay Youngblood stand on his own 2 feet. It's not like they're saying popular black guy, junkyard dog. We leave that to Butch Reed to say that part. Um, but yeah, we then go to the TA versus Killer Khan match from May 27 in Oklahoma City. I wrote this was allegedly narrated by Bill Watts. At one point, okay, it's 2025. So at one point in this match, Killer Khan took a backdrop, a back body drop, and the way he took it, for 1/8 of a second, the way he went over, I thought he was about to do a Canadian destroyer.
Wow.
However, 21-month-old Petey Williams had not yet invented that move, so that's not what happened here.
You think Mid South TV was on you think Mid South was on TV in Windsor, Ontario?
Oh, I'm sure it was.
Or
You
where's
know,
Petey Williams from? He's from Windsor? Where's he from? Windsor?
I'm to be fair, I know a lot of useless information. I do not know the shoot location of Petey Williams.
I do believe he is from the province of Ontario.
That is probable. And anyway, TA won with the belly to belly suplex. It was a fine match. And like we always say, I like that they've been doing this. They've been putting in these, hey, look at these house show matches. And it's like, and we've seen before, it's not just the big cities like Oklahoma City, but it's still nice to see. So it's like you don't feel like, well, I went to a house show, but I'm in bumfuck Louisiana, so I'm not as important as Oklahoma City or Tulsa or New Orleans or whatever. It's like, no, they show all the shit, or they show a lot of the shit here, and I like we said, I like this shit.
Arya, I'm gonna make a joke
Trey.
that only you and I will get.
Oh boy. Isn't that our entire show?
Do you think they ever ran a spot show in Picklefucker Junction, Oklahoma?
Probably not. Probably not. Okay. So then Jim Ross is a fucking liar.
Oh.
Yes. JR, I love you. I hope everything with your colon cancer goes great. You're a fucking liar, dude. You're a fucking liar. JR informs us that they have never gotten more feedback, more cards and letters about any music video they've ever played other than the My Way video that they played last week for Magnum TA. Trey, do you understand why I'm calling Jim Ross a fucking liar?
Look, there's no accounting for taste. And I am okay. That's
not even my complaint. That is not my complaint because hey, people like different kinds of music, people like different things. You may have liked this. I thought it was a weird choice in song. That's not why Jim Ross is a fucking liar. Jim Ross is a fucking liar because this show got taped 20 minutes after the last one did. There were no cards and letters that came in telling you how great the video was.
I don't know if I am representative of the general sentiment of the Mid-South region. I know I am not in regard to most things, but in regard to this, I as a person from the Mid-South region did not like that video.
Did you write a card and a letter into Jim Ross to tell him this?
I did not because I was -3 years and 2 months old.
Okay. Well, if we ever get our time machine working, we can go back to this TV taping, and when they start recording the second episode, we can walk on there right behind Jim Ross and order him to read a letter or something that we wrote.
There we go. That's an
And
idea. We
and
need.
and as we know, Mid South does not edit shit out. I think it's this episode we'll get to later that it's like, why aren't they editing this out? But
You
they would
know,
probably keep that in there.
if anybody actually cared about the show, like if we were Brian and Vinny, somebody would have a list of all the shit we said we're gonna do when we get a time machine.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, I don't want to, insult our listeners or anything, but I'm gonna play the odds here and guess we'll probably never get a time machine.
I
Sorry.
just, on one hand, I feel like if we would have gotten it, we would have gotten it by now. But on the other hand, when we get it is irrelevant.
Terry Taylor versus Barry Orton, and Trey marked out because Murray Franks is back.
I did. That wasn't why I was laughing right then, but I did also mark out when I saw Murray Frank was still here.
So there was a meme I saw a few years ago on Facebook, and it always makes me laugh. Babies with grown-up names freak me out. Like, no, I do not want to hold Barry.
Oh, I I was scrolling Reddit the other day, and one of the subreddits that I've subscribed to is Name Nerds, and somebody was posting that they like their family like didn't like their baby name, and the baby name was Walter, which like it's old, but then like the thought of a baby named Walter is very funny to me. So I support the naming of the baby Walter.
Okay. Um, but like, I'll be honest, I've literally never seen a baby named Barry either.
I had a cousin named
Uh,
Barry. I think he was a baby at some point.
by the way, on that name nerd page, did you recommend they change the baby's name to Gunther?
Oh, I wish I'd thought of that.
Um, Orton, we're told, comes from a real wrestling family, according to Boyd. So I assume that means Taylor comes from a fake wrestling family. And Taylor wins with the 5 arm.
Okay,
Anything about this match?
I don't get it with Terry Taylor. Like, I see that he's a handsome young man, and he's not a bad worker or anything. He just has all the personality and charisma of an unsalted cracker. Is it just me?
That popped me.
Like,
Um, I'll be honest, I've never really thought about it. Like, I don't know. I always feel like Terry Taylor he didn't have a good pro wrestling personality, but I thought he had good personality. I'm like, I bet if you met Terry Taylor, he'd be like, he'd be like, man, that guy was really cool when you got done meeting him.
I'm sure
But he's
he's a
not a guy
nice
that really
guy.
pops. Yeah.
I'm sure he's a nice guy, but also I can't unknow that like so many different people in wrestling from a variety of times and places all agree that Terry Taylor is a stooge.
Stooge. Sorry, I don't have a Terry Taylor impression. All right, so up next, we were scheduled to have the champion of television, Krusher Kruschev, versus Buddy West. But before we get to this match, Krusher Kruschev has something to say.
Hey, I'm sick and tired of this, and I want you people to shut up and listen to this. I don't get any respect from anywhere but around here. And Mid-South is doing it to me again. Dr. Dummy Death Williams, I know you're somewhere in this auditorium somewhere, and I want my medal. If you had any guts, which I know you don't, because most American athletes don't, you would come down here right now and give me my medal, because I want it fair and square, and it's mine, and I'm going to get it somehow, because Mid-South ain't doing it to me again here. I'm going to take it over. I'm going to get it myself.
In case you ever wonder why Krusher Kruschev and Demolition Smash and I guess the Revo Man got decent promo time. In case you're wondering why those people never got promo time, this is why, for better or worse. Um, Dr. Dummy Death.
If you don't name the episode Dr. Dummy, I'm gonna go on strike and refuse to review World Class.
Like this week's World Class or next week's World Class.
Just any ever again.
But how else can we can we give a shout out to Charles Krantz? Unless we name the show Thank You, Chuck.
I still don't know what you're referencing.
Nobody listening to this will know what I'm referencing. I guarantee it. I'll tell you after the show.
Okay.
Oh God. Um, but now I've lost my train of thought here. Okay. So he wants Dr. Dummy Death to bring his medal back. Now, is that a doctorate in dummy death, or is his name, or is he got a doctorate in dummy and his name is Death Williams?
Well, okay. So if when you say Dr. Dummy, it sounds like you're saying a fellow whose family name is Dummy, who has earned a PhD or an MD, I guess an MDD. But if you say Dr. Dummy Death Williams, it sounds like a fellow whose name first name Dummy, middle name Death, last name Williams, who has earned a doctorate.
I like that we broke that one down. Um, we're informed that Buddy West is a newcomer. I don't know about you, Trey, but I was a newcomer when I was 12. But I guess, some people go through maturity late. Win!
Damn it.
Oh, Lord. I'm happy I popped you with something today.
It took me like half a second.
Oh, Lord. By the way, that is much better than this match. Khrushchev won with the Canadian backbreaker.
I wrote Dr. Dummy and the finish.
Khrushchev has more to say. He's approaching JR and wants to know about his damn medal.
Your medal is not at our table. We don't have your Dr. Death. If you're looking for Dr. Death Steve Williams, I suggest you turn around. There's Dr. Death Steve Williams. You don't have to look very far to find Dr. Death, Khrushchev. Dr. Death has hung that medal on the far ring post. Dr. Death telling him, if you want it, come get it. Dr. Death attacking Khrushchev.
All right. So yeah, Krusher Kruschev wants his medal. He is the champion of television after all, Trey.
He is. Even though he never defends the title on television.
Didn't he defend it like the 1 week? I seem to remember.
The one time, like the first week, and then never again, if I remember right.
Oh, I guess sometimes you don't have to. You get a 90-day defense window here with the television championship medal.
Okay, what is this? June 16th? Was it June 16th? The last time he defended the title on television was April 21st. We're okay, not we got another month, I guess.
We're not at the 90-day window yet. So you remember that crappy season of Tough Enough that Daniel Puder won? They had a skit where each of the remaining people would take on Doug and Danny Basham in kind of a shoot, capture the flag thing, where they
Huh.
had to get past the Bashams to catch for a flag. And I imagine the reason why they had both Doug and Danny there was to prevent anybody from winning. And sure enough, nobody won, not even the Ryback, who is a very large man. Anyway, that's essentially what this was here. Krusher Kruschev was
Yeah.
doing his damnedest to get the medal. If you told me this was a shoot, I would believe you, because Khrushchev was doing his damnedest to get the medal, and Dr. Death was doing his damnedest to prevent that. Um, I wrote that I'm not sure why this was allowed to go on so long without referees and the job squad breaking it up. Maybe they're all standing backstage waiting for Buddy Landel to pay them from last week. And then eventually the referee raised Doc's hand, declaring him apparently the winner of this impromptu fight.
I was so confused about where you were going with that tough enough thing. And then that was the one that was all on SmackDown, right?
Yes.
Okay,
I
that
promise I was not going to say that Krusher Khrushchev came out in a
yeah.
dress and tried to hit on
Okay.
Hardcore Holly.
I did not get SmackDown until the CW started in 2005.
I will say that's probably for the best.
Okay, I don't
I
think.
didn't get SmackDown that whole period they were on my network TV.
Okay,
Like
I have said this before, but I've never said it on the podcast. In like 2002, during the first year like draft SmackDown, like I was in what 10th grade, and I had a girlfriend, and they had satellite, so they got SmackDown, and then like her dad liked wrestling, so I would go over to her house on Thursday night to watch SmackDown, and I maintained that relationship for about 3 months longer than I wanted to, solely because I could watch SmackDown.
somehow I knew you were going to say that.
But hey, that is
Oh
the
Lord.
reason that I saw John Cena's debut.
Yes. I recall that one. Um I like back in the day, it was like 99, 2000, I think even 2001. For whatever reason, my brother and I were never able to watch SmackDown on Thursdays, but our local, I don't know if it was UPN or our WB, because I know our WB also aired wrestling sometimes, so it may have been them. But anyway, either one of those local channels would air SmackDown on Saturday nights as well. So we saw SmackDown every Saturday night, which also tells you just how cool we were, back during that period that we were watching SmackDown on a Saturday night. Um, and yeah, I remember watching the Forgotten TLC match there.
That's awesome.
Yes. So yeah, so Steve Williams wins this impromptu fight for some
This
reason.
was a very entertaining angle.
It was. It was. All right. So then we got Sonny King versus Pete Martin, with Carl Fergie as the referee. Trey, I got to ask you, if an Irish person saw that Carl Fergie was the referee, would that make him Sonny King? Okay, you win some, you
I
lose some. Um,
I get like half of that joke.
because Irish people call you Sonny and Carl Fergie's the king, and
Yeah, I
so he's
guess
Sonny King.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Star and a half.
You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and then you have the facts of fucking life. We're informed that Sonny King never asks for a quarter. What if he parked at a meter and didn't have any change?
No, no, they were saying he did not ask for quarter, not a
Okay.
quarter.
Am I like, okay, you're gonna then have to explain that one to me because um I hear you don't ask for a quarter, you're not asking for 25 cents. What
No,
are
no,
they?
no, that's an idiom. If you ask for no quarter, it's quarter in the sense of, okay, I don't have a dictionary in front of me, but if you are an invading army and you're giving no quarter, that means you're just like not letting anybody surrender. You're just pushing and killing everybody. And then you're asking no quarter means you go full on and you don't expect anybody to take it easy on you or give you any like leeway.
Sonny King won with a headbutt here. I mean, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for the explanation, Trey. We
This was a
learned something
match.
today, ladies and gentlemen.
This was a match that effectively conveyed that Sonny King could beat a guy named Pete.
Pete Martin specifically. Do you think he was Andrew Martin's father?
Do you think a few years later he watched The Adventures of Pete and Pete?
Oh God, I love that show.
Me too.
Buddy Landell versus Mark Rajan. By the way,
Mark Rajan.
yesterday as we recorded this was the 10-year anniversary of Buddy Landell's death. So rest in peace, Budro.
Mark Rajan, I believe, had an even swifter fall than Lanny Poffo. He
Oh,
got pushed
definitely.
for like a week.
Yes. Poor Mark Rajan. So I don't know why I wrote this here. I must have been talking to you about something while I was watching this, but I wrote a SNL joke here. So Trey, I have a conundrum for you, a riddle, if you will. What's the difference between you and a mallard with a cold? One's a sick duck, and I forget the rest, but your mother's a whore.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yes. So okay.
Hey, what's hold on.
So last week, Buddy Landell hired a bunch of jobbers to attack Sonny King, and Mark Rajan demanded this match in response. Is he upset that Buddy didn't pay him off too? Landell had the match won and either picked Mark Rajan up or Mark Rajan barely got his shoulders up, and Landell pinned Mark Rajan with his corkscrew elbow drop.
Indeed.
Yes. Um, so I don't know about you, but so I knew why was Mark Rajan demanding to wrestle Buddy Landell because Buddy sent people out to attack Sonny King? Like
Because
why is Mark Rajan more upset about that than Sonny King is?
because Sonny King asked for no quarter.
There you go.
Hey, Arya,
Trey.
what's the difference between a chickpea and a garbanzo bean?
No idea what.
Never had a garbanzo bean on my face.
This is a very mature podcast. Oh Lord, this is the Rated R Supercast. There's a line we haven't said in like 10 months, even though it's on the logo of the show. Um, Hacksaw Jim Dugan versus Pat Rose. I'm so fucking happy Pat Rose wrestled on Mid-South this week. Jim Dugan went for a football tackle in the corner, but Pat Rose used his superior speed to run out of the way, and Duggan went shoulder first into the post. Ultimately, it didn't matter much because Jim Duggan used a spear from the middle rope. He needed the extra momentum to defeat Pat Rose.
Hey, this was a pretty sharp little brawl for just a minute. Like Duggan was pounding on him, and then Rose made a little bit of a comeback, and then it did not last. But I thought this was I liked this for what it was.
It was not a bad little bout. Not at all. All right. Now, before we get to our next match, we have to go to our good friends, Murray Franks. I don't know why I call them our good friends. Our good friend, Murray Franks, to do the intro of this next match.
This bout is one fall or TV time remaining. In the blue corner, weighing 239 pounds from Atlanta, Mr. Wrestling. Weighing 229 pounds from Amarillo, Texas, Jay Youngblood.
Why don't you just back up and go do your homework somewhere? Ladies and gentlemen, even though you don't deserve the honor to see the Mid-South Tag Team Champions in action, you're going to right now. Lean, mean, slick and quick. The devastating combination of Loverboy Dennis and beautiful Bobby, the Midnight Express.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Breaking news.
Okay.
Real life breaking news.
Did we bomb Iran again?
Israel and Iran have agreed to a full ceasefire starting in 6 hours. This was 2 hours ago. So, yay. WWE United Champions in Saudi Arabia can go on as planned.
I know that was your primary concern. But I'd seen that a little bit ago. So, but yeah. We're at war with the Middle East, ladies and gentlemen. Well, no, I didn't. If I want to be technical, I think Dave broke it for me. I read when I was reading the daily update.
Speaking of Dave breaking things,
he doesn't usually break too much these days, unfortunately. Love the guy,
I love
but
Dave.
I question what the point of a subscription wrestling newsletter is in 2025.
I love Dave. I don't know if he steps on my jokes on purpose or if he's just Dave and he's being earnest. But I have such a peeve about people who try to explain my jokes to me. But, like, it's Dave, so I genuinely don't know if he's, like, just being earnest. It doesn't get that I'm joking.
I think that's Dave, and I also think because he won't just block people on fucking Twitter. And so it's like, if you're not, like, being painfully obvious that you're telling a joke, he's going to take you at your word for whatever you say and go from there.
Dave, we love you.
Nothing but love, Dave. So I gotta tell you, speaking of Dave, I was reading an Observer from around this time period a few days ago, and according to Dave, Mr. Wrestling 2 did a promo at one point. Mr. Wrestling 2 Hercules, where he said that he trained by taking 10 Dianabol a day, which is a steroid. Now, I look forward the next 3 or 4 episodes, like just skimming through it just to find any promos with Mr. Wrestling 2. And unfortunately, it looks like it was a local promo.
Oh, I know you ignore the local promos on Smoky Mountain. I hate that we don't get the local promos on Mid-South.
I agree. I would like those, to be perfectly honest with you. So, 2 Classic and Youngblood have good continuity as a team. Imagine if 2 Classic wouldn't have been an asshole to his partner 2 partners ago.
Right?
Okay. Youngblood somehow accidentally punched 2 Classic. I say somehow because Condrey did not move. Youngblood just reached over the top of Condrey's head and punched Mr. Wrestling in the head.
Is 2 just a babyface again with no explanation?
I believe so.
Okay. If that's what we're doing. I was just wondering.
Who needs a promo to explain things, right? So yeah, Youngblood just punched his partner in the head, and 2 Classic was understandably pissed off, and Youngblood couldn't just admit that he made mistakes, so he walked off. And apparently being punched in the head constitutes a legal tag, as 2 Classic was allowed to wrestle. JR screamed it was an accident, and I'm not sure what the fuck he was watching, because that was not an accident. If there was ever a time for the good old Smoky Mountain Wrestling camera shot of the crowd, it was here.
This is going to be.
Oh,
I know this is going to be the first time in the history of podcasts, but I'm going to make a very specific reference. Do you
what?
remember? Do you remember? I don't remember who they were yet, but Survivor Series '99, one of the elimination matches, one of the teams was the Dudley Boys and the Acolytes, even though they were like kind of feuding. Do you remember this?
It was no. Edge and Christian and the Hardys took on the
Hardcore
Hollies and
Holly and
somebody.
yeah,
And
the
so I
Headbangers and somebody.
maybe with the Godfather and D'Lo.
I think that was the match. I think, but anyway, at one point, I think Farouk slaps Devon in the face, and that constitutes a legal tag. So at least there's consistency.
Interpromotional continuity is what we're saying here.
And well, this is why I keep advocating for uniform rules of professional wrestling.
Yes. We also find out during this match that the Pretty Young Things debut next week. And then the Midnight Express got themselves disqualified by hitting Classic with the belt. Sonny King apparently forgot how Classic treated his last 3 tag team partners, so he ran in to get beat up by the Midnight Express and an interfering Budgerow. The crowd popped, and approximately 5 minutes after the crowd popped, Duggan and Taylor made the save.
Okay, help me out. Pretty Young Things, Coco Ware and Norvell Austin?
I believe so.
Okay.
And also,
Uh,
we're increasing the black people on the show because Ernie
I've
Ladd's going to be
noticed.
back next week.
Yeah. Hey, this is a Watts territory for sure. You can tell.
Yep. And also, a young team that the girls will surely love, the Fantastics, will be here. And I'm a little surprised. I guess the Rock and Rolls aren't on their way out of the territory, are they?
You thought the exact thing that I thought. And I know, like, I don't, if I remember from the matches that were on the Legends of Mid-South Blu-ray, I don't think the Rock and Roll Midnight program is over yet. They haven't done the Cornette and the Shark Cage match yet.
I assume not, but I mean they don't usually do those things on the television.
I don't remember if that was
But
on TV or not, but they would have told us because it was a title change.
in that case, then no, it has not happened yet. Let me see here how long they last. They're actually here, by the looks of it, they're here for another year. Here until summer of '85.
And the Fantastics don't stay long. They go to Dallas. They're in Dallas
That's
at the same
possible.
time as the Midnight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At some point this year, we get to look forward to the Rock and Roll Express versus Hercules Hernandez and Ted DiBiase.
That sounds fucking tremendous.
I bet that was a tremendous match.
Do you think that that Hercules knew that DiBiase would try to buy him someday?
Why did Hercules not have a problem that Bobby Heenan bought him from Slick? That's what I always want to know. You know?
Because Bobby Heenan bought his contract as manager. These managers often exchange contracts. They made it clear that in DiBiase's mind, he was buying Hercules in a way that was made illegal by the 13th Amendment.
Also, remember when Big Boss Man turned babyface?
Kinda. What was it? I don't
So,
remember the
so Jake Roberts had stolen the $1 million title, and Ted DiBiase had gotten Slick and Bossman to get it back, which they did, and then Bossman found out that Ted DiBiase was paying them for their services, and Bossman flipped out. I don't mind beating the shit out of people with a nightstick and cuffing them and leaving them helpless on the ropes, but I will not take a payoff for that. Anyway,
He didn't know. I thought he knew.
yeah, apparently not. Anywho, tell us about Pat Tanaka being a piece of shit.
Oh, okay. I cannot remember exactly where I heard this story, but in like 2002, when Pat Tanaka was working in New Japan as Goku Do and was teaming with Jado and Gato, it was something about like he claimed to somebody, and I remember the name being Gato, which may be wrong. This is a half remembered story. Pat Tanaka told somebody that he had been diagnosed with cancer, and they took up money for him in the locker room, and then he just left the territory, and he didn't have cancer. So I don't know, I don't know. You ever heard that story?
I have never heard that story. And I gotta tell you, if that's true, let's throw a couple asterisks on there. If that's true, Pat Tanaka is a dick.
Yes. If that is true, Pat Tanaka is a dick.
And by the way, the Fantastics are going to be here until October.
Okay. Well,
So,
hey, more good wrestlers on this show. Are the PYTs heels or baby faces?
I don't know. I haven't bothered.
Baby face. They're black and in a Watts territory. They're baby faces, right?
If not, they're going to turn babyface soon enough, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, face heavy on tag teams finna be, feels like.
Yep. Too bad we broke up the Misters Wrestling.
I mean, at least the heel team is the Midnight Express.
Very true. If anybody can feud with, a whole bunch of babyface teams at the same time, it's the Midnight Express.
Yes.
We've kind of noted this, but I'm pretty sure we're pretty close to the end of Mr. Wrestling 2.
Yeah, it's soon.
Let me see. Because, yeah, he ends up in Georgia because that's how he ends up in the fucking WWF of all things. We're down
He retires
to
for
our
the
last,
end of the year.
Ish. No, he's in the WWF through 85.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently.
Huh. I thought he retired in 84.
So here's something for you. That was his last TV match.
Really?
Yep.
In Mid-South? Okay.
Yep.
Hey. Okay. I remembered my trivia question.
Okay. Is
My
it about
trivia
Mr.
question.
Wrestling 2?
I'm not gonna say.
Okay.
But okay. I am a professional wrestler. I was on the first New Japan Pro Wrestling tour.
Oh, jeez.
On the second ever New Japan Pro Wrestling card, I had a singles match in the main event with Antonio Inoki. And I am someone who is on the shows that we watch.
Who are you, is what you're trying to ask me?
Who am I? Who am I?
I mean, I'm going to guess Mr. Wrestling 2 at this point. Because,
No,
I mean,
I can't believe you would even
the-
guess that after I said that the reason I had never asked you before was because I never thought of it at a time that wouldn't give it away.
I mean, if you think about it, the only people I guess that it could be is Kevin Sullivan, which I don't think it would be him. Bill Watts might be him, or Fritz might be him.
Would
And
you
you've
like to
apparently
register?
shot down. You apparently shot down Mr. Wrestling too. So I'm gonna go with Fritz.
Is that your final answer?
Yes, it is.
That is incorrect. The
Wait,
correct answer.
any of the four people I mentioned it?
No.
The correct answer is Boyd Pierce.
Correct answer, Bullet Bob Armstrong.
Interesting.
Under the name Jim Durango. And he had a tag team partner who I would assume was billed as his brother, named John Durango, who doesn't have a cage match profile, so I don't know who that was. What if you think John Durango will be at the Armstrong family reunion?
I think he'll be there along with the Bullet.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to the intro of World Class this week.
Welcome to World Class Championship Wrestling from the world-famous Sportatorium in downtown Dallas, Texas. Hi, I'm Bill Mercer. Great to have you with us, and what a tremendous main event we have on World Class Championship Wrestling. It's that old feud between the Von Erichs and the Freebirds, featuring Kevin and Mike Von Erich against Buddy Roberts and Terry Gordy. But first, coming up on World Class Championship Wrestling, an encore match. The Iceman King Parsons and Rock and Roll Zumhofe against the Super D's. Next on World Class Championship Wrestling.
All right, so yeah, this is the show I watched last week on accident. And this week I wrote, hey, Bill Mercer's back. Well, Bill Mercer was back last week. So yeah, we're getting Kevin and Mike versus Buddy Roberts and Terry Gordy, plus an encore match. So yeah, we're off to a rip-roaring start here on this week's World Class.
Yeah. Big show.
We have a really big show for you tonight. A really big show. So technically, they aired an encore match that we never saw because it was from the Fort Worth show. However, it does meet the Buck Zumhofe rule, where we do not watch matches featuring Rock and Roll Buck Zumhofe. Now, with that said, while trying to fast forward to the end, I did note that it was a angle-worthy match, and Trey, I asked you if you were going to watch that. So here's the question. Did you watch Iceman Parsons and Buck Zumhofe versus the Super D's?
I skipped to the finish.
All right. So I didn't really actually watch the actual finish of how anybody won, but the Super D's won, and then they got unmasked. Yes, that's right. The Super D's got unmasked on this program.
So the baby faces lost and then took the mask anyway. That's what. Okay. This is the worst thing Buck Zumhofe has ever done.
It wasn't, for a change, it wasn't Grizzly Smith, huh?
I'm sorry. You know I had to.
I don't know. I can't even talk right now. All right. So yes, we have new world-class tag team champions, new American tag team champions. And let's now go to an interesting conversation with General Skandor Akbar following their championship victory.
Following the intriguing conclusion of this match, we talk with Skandor Akbar in the studios of World Class Championship Wrestling. Skandor, you won a championship, but you lost the identity of the Super D's. Now we know they're Wild Bill Irwin and his brother Scott Hogg Irwin. What are you going to do about this identification?
Well, of course, winning the controversial American Tag Championships is quite an accomplishment for any team, Devastation Incorporated or anybody. Everybody knows Wild Bill Irwin from before, but Scott Hogg Irwin was the original Super Destroyer. Wrestled all across the world, never unmasked at any time. The dastardly act committed by that human jukebox Rock and Roll Zumhofe and that Iceman, that despicable King Parsons. Gentlemen, you will pay, because their identities were sacred to them for one particular reason, which is none of anybody's business but Devastation Incorporated. So Iceman, you and Zumhoff, and I want Iceman to think for 1 minute, because you know that you have felt the wrath of the general before, and there's more fuel for the fire. And speaking of fire, remember, Iceman, just a small example of things to happen in the future. Both of you, be warned now.
What about the individuals of Devastation Incorporated? What plans do you have for them?
Well, of course, we are elated and happy to have the American Tag Championships, but we want more. Our prime objective at this moment is the Texas Heavyweight Championship, the most prestigious belt in this state. Each member of Devastation Incorporated, and now let's not leave out the missing link, will go after the Texas State Championship, I can assure you.
And we'll be back with more world-class championship wrestling in a moment.
So it wasn't an interesting conclusion. It was an intriguing conclusion to that match. So did you feel that that was an intriguing finish to the match, that we had to listen to General Akbar there?
No, I didn't. And I don't know. I wasn't interested at all in the finish. And then, like, okay, I have two things to say. Number one, Scott Hogg Irwin.
Sounds like they're saying Scott Hall Irwin.
Doesn't it? It's so confusing. And the other thing is, Akbar is too good a promo to be as boring as he is.
Well, his prime objective is for the Texas title, which is the most prestigious title in all of Texas. Now, here's a question. Does that mean in Texas, the Texas title is more prestigious than the American title?
It's funny that you say that, because there's like something that I read very funny on Reddit one time that my wife and I still bring up, because it's very, like, my wife and I are Texas transplants. So we have a good humor about Texans being Texas. And I just remember somebody on Reddit, it was just a joke, and somebody said, "Is there anything more American than America?" And somebody responded, "Texas." And that's what that question made me think of.
So what you're saying is you are not Texas born, Texas bred, and when you die, you will not be Texas dead?
No, I'm not.
So
But I live here. It's fine.
I mentioned this last week, but I was trying to remember who the hell the Texas champion was, and apparently it was David Von Erich.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That's funny. It's funny that you didn't remember, and then you had to look it up.
Actually, I don't think I looked it
Or
up.
you remembered.
I
Or you had to think about it. It's funny that
Yeah.
you had to think about it. Right.
Then we get Pat Rose, who, despite what I wrote, is not getting triple pay this week, versus Terry Gordy presents his 300-pound Mongolian, Killer Khan. So no triple pay from Pat Rose this week, only double pay. If he would have done a run-in this week, he would have gotten triple pay. But did Killer Khan rip down any shitty walls?
God damn it. I was sitting here trying to think of that joke. Fucking hate you.
I love me.
Oh.
In the middle of this very important match between Killer Khan and Pat Rose, Bill Mercer informed us that Kerry Von Erich has lost the world title in Japan. And I don't know if you want to discuss it now or later on when we get the interview.
Well, we'll talk about it in a minute.
Okay. But he tells
We'll
us
talk
that
about it.
Kerry... So you don't even want to say what Mercer said?
No, you can say what he said during the match, just not...
Okay. During the match, Mercer said that Kerry lost the world title in Japan thanks to a sumo ref who didn't know freestyle wrestling, Kerry being thrown over the top rope, and his foot being on the ropes at the finish. Now, I do have to ask you, if Kerry had been world champion in '86, would it have been controversial that his foot was on the rope?
Yeah. You really did
Pat
just spend the whole time writing jokes for me this week, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I wrote Pat Rose went 0 for 3 this week. Pat Rose went 0 for 5 for the last 2 weeks, doing a job to a middle rope knee drop. We're informed that next week it'll be Gino Hernandez versus the Iceman. And this week, though, we're going to have Gino Hernandez versus Rick Hazard. But before we get to that, did you have any thoughts about Pat Rose versus Killer Khan?
I determined, as a result of these 2 matches, that Pat Rose is a good enhancement wrestler.
You don't say.
I do.
Oh, hopefully he gets more work.
I sure hope so.
Although the last time I said I hoped an enhancement talent got more was when Reno Riggins was on Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and I remember thinking, "Wow, this guy's kind of talented. Like they should give him a little bit more." And like the next week he was cutting a promo with Ron Wright, and it's like, "Oh, this is why Reno Riggins should not get more."
Well, at least Bradshaw's coming in at Christmas.
Yes. Brett, in case you haven't listened to Jim Cornette's review of Wrestling Talent in '97 that he did for the WWF, apparently Bradshaw was going to be brought into Smoky Mountain at Christmas of '95. And the reason that is funny is because they got a business in Thanksgiving of '95.
He said Bradshaw had been sending him tape for like 2 years, and he finally told him, "Okay, we'll start you at Christmas," and then they closed at Thanksgiving. The only thing in that clip that made me laugh harder was his assessment of Tiger Ali Singh.
I liked that he made a joke about bringing in what's her name from Sanford and Son, and Vince went and tried to reach out to her.
Hey, how about him pitching the New Age Outlaws in that fucking thing? Like, exactly.
Yes. 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 Anyway, in a few minutes, we're going to have a conversation with Kerry Von Erich about some things. But, wow, Hazard with a kick to kickstart his comeback. Gino won with a top rope elbow to his standing foe, and then Gino informs us that he is our champion afterwards.
I like that this was Rick Hazard with 2 Z's, like the Dukes of Hazzard.
He did not come to the ring, though, in a vehicle.
That would have been cool, though. Gino actually gave him a little bit, and then he avoided a charge in the corner and hit a neck breaker and having elbow and won.
Well, he is the champion after all. So I mean, there's
He is our champion.
All right, so we're going to go to an interview with Kerry Von Erich, who blew himself this week. And this is his first interview after losing the world title. Actually, it's his first interview after winning the world title, too. He just, has never been on TV since.
He did the one right after.
Well, I don't count that because that was the day of. I'm like talking about like afterwards. But let's go to Kerry's right now with Bill Mercer.
Von Erich has returned from Japan, where he lost his World Heavyweight Championship to Ric Flair. We had a chance to talk to Kerry about that trip to Japan in our world-class championship studios. We're here with Kerry Von Erich. And Kerry, we're all very disappointed and distressed that you lost the World Championship in Japan to Ric Flair. How do you feel?
Well, Bill, like any athlete, a contending athlete would feel, that he's ready to pick it back up and take it right back and put it around his waist where it belongs.
A lot of things happened, though, that were just terribly unfortunate in that thing. For example, there was a sumo wrestler referee involved in this match. Now, does a sumo referee know about the difference between sumo and freestyle?
Well, he really can't, Bill, but, I'm not making excuses, and I plan on not ever coming back here again and making excuses, and I won't start now.
All right, you don't want to make excuses, but some weird things, crazy things happened. Flair is from an eyewitness who saw the match. Flair threw you over the top rope. The referee didn't call that. Then when the pin happened, the pin that lost the championship, your feet were out.
Yeah, Bill, let's just forget about that. You know, it's over, it's done with, and all we can do is pick it right back up and start again.
Now, what are your plans for the future now?
6-man world heavyweight title, Bill. That's the number one thing right now is the family. And we are the 6-man world heavyweight champions. My dad won it with Mike and Kevin, and it was a great match, and it had the Bad Street Rules, and they came out and said they were the baddest, and they won the match, and now it dropped on down to me, and so now it's Kev and Mike and I are now the 6-man world champions, and I'm just so proud to be here, and we're not going to lose it.
Now, the main event on this week's program will be featuring Mike and Kevin against the Freebirds, and possibly this killer Khan of theirs is going to be there. Are you going to be ringside?
Yeah, Bill, you know, I've been aware of everything that's been going on, and if Khan shows his face out there, I'll be there right along beside him.
Thank you, Kerry. And we'll be back with more world-class championship wrestling in...
So, do you think Kerry was trying to be like the humble baby face that, you know, yeah, I lost the title, no excuses, while Mercer's trying to do the whole story, like, and like, you know, they didn't say it, but like Fritz one day, I think he said that Kerry had 104-degree fever at one point. But it's like, oh yeah, we had a sumo referee. He got thrown over the top rope. Flair had his foot on the ropes. So Kerry trying to be the humble babyface and kind of blowing off the entire storyline of the match, or at least the Fritz created storyline of the match. Anyway, you watched the match recently. And by recently, I mean like an hour ago.
You know, we have talked on this podcast about Bill Mercer's credentials as a journalist. They are sterling. But on the account of that I am a professional, I felt the need to witness this and see and compare the events that were presented with what actually happened. And I have to say, I don't know what his source was, but I don't think Bill Mercer did his due diligence on this story.
I mean, it is 1984. It's 1984, so it's hard to get like the story from Japan sometimes, you know.
Well,
Dave
okay,
only put out the Observer once a month.
No, okay. I will say, the over-the-top rope thing, I think is true. I didn't really register it because that's not a thing in All Japan. And then, okay, the falls. It was a 2 out of 3 falls match. Kerry won the first fall when he pinned Flair with the Iron Claw. There were no irregularities in that decision. The second fall, Flair won with the figure 4, but it was a referee stoppage, not a submission. Now, that is a very slight asterisk, but the referee rendered a valid decision. Now, I don't know what the fuck happened, but they clipped out the finish of the third fall. Like 1 second, the match was going on, and the next they were handing Flair the belt. And I don't know if the finish was clipped out of the Pro Wrestling Classics episode that it aired on, or if the person who uploaded it to YouTube clipped it out. Neither of those makes any sense. There is a possibility that the recording came from a satellite feed that glitched briefly. I've had episodes of this same program where that happened. So I had to find another recording of the finish, and this is the version that aired in 1985 on The Rock's grandmother's TV in Hawaii. Now, all that said, because I love providing necessary context, here is what I think happened at the finish. Kerry did a reverse cradle on Flair that Flair rolled through, which put them very near the ropes. And Kerry was supposed to hold his foot on the bottom rope. He forgot, and Flair pushed his leg down so that it would be on the bottom rope when the final count was rendered.
Wow.
So anyway,
Wow.
now as that part is, okay, maybe there's grounds for Kerry to petition the National Wrestling Alliance for a rematch. But the claim that this was a sumo referee who did not understand the rules of, quote, freestyle wrestling. The referee of this match was Joe Higuchi, who
I was actually going
became
to say, was it Joe Higuchi?
was a professional wrestling referee, became a referee in 1965 after he retired as a pro wrestler. I call
So
shenanigans.
what you're saying, that may not be true.
This
But
is there's just something, but I am sure that Bill Mercer got the best information he reasonably could have given the resources available to him. I do not want to impugn on the journalistic integrity of Mr. Mercer. I have nothing but the utmost regard for him.
I bet Fritz gave him the news, the correct news.
I bet Fritz is the one that told him to lie.
That's what I'm saying. All right, then we get our main event. It is Gordy Roberts with Michael Hayes versus Kevin and Mike Von Erich. Hayes informs us that there ain't nothing in Texas but a bunch of punks. At least he didn't say steers and queers. Um, the people were super upset by this, by the way. But you see, the power of the rope that holds them back compelled them not to get involved. Plus, the last time a fan stepped over that rope, Terry Gordy shoved them 50 feet into the air. So
yeah,
it's probably for the best.
I would also not cross the rope that Terry Gordy was on the other side of.
I would if there was like at least 5 people in between. Like if there was, the 3 Von Erichs and Hayes and Buddy, I'd feel comfortable standing behind the 5 of them.
I mean, I guess it depends on the context. Like, is he mad at me or is he just standing there?
Either way, you know?
Anyway, do you remember that one week that Mike and Buddy had a singles match and I was convinced that Mike was better than we gave him credit for?
Yes.
Buddy Roberts is very good.
Really? What gave you that idea?
I watched him wrestle Mike Von Erich.
David Manning Von Erich ordered Michael Hayes to the outside to start the match. Ric Flair, we're informed, refuses to meet Kerry Von Erich the next time he comes to Texas. This is where I'm thinking Bill Mercer was taking the same special medicine that Mark Lawrence does, because Ric Flair and Kerry Von Erich have already met each other, Bill. They got the heat. They got the heat on Mike. 4 hours later, Mike made the hot tag to Kevin. Michael gave Mike a blow to the head, so Kerry chased Michael into the ring for apparently the double disqualification. So what we found out this week is Kerry Von Erich is not just a loser, but he's also a liar. Because he said he'd only be out there if Killer Khan stuck his nose in it, and Killer Khan did not stick his nose in it.
Killer Khan wasn't even out there.
No, he wasn't.
He was just.
I think.
Killer Khan was just sitting backstage, just thinking about his dream of making enough money wrestling in America to go into Japan and open a restaurant.
Yeah. So I think Kerry just was like, you know what, I'm getting involved, and it's likely that Killer Khan will be out there, so I'll just say Killer Khan. And then he ended up being a liar. What is with this show and, all of our people being liars on this show? I mean, I thought we don't find out that Von Erich, yeah, I thought we don't find out the Von Erichs are liars until Lance comes in.
Wow. Just shattering the illusion.
Yeah. By the way, this fucking feud finally ends in September.
Okay.
Oh, Lord. So that's it for World Class this week. I don't even know. World Class is just it's a show.
I can't dispute that.
Yes. It's definitely a show that runs for about 43 minutes every week.
At 43 minutes of my life, I'll never get back.
Yep. Oh, Lordy, Lordy. Um, so you also wanted me to bring up about the time you got threatened by Tama Tonga.
Oh, oh, this is not as good as the Bobby Fish story.
Well, you need to tell me these things, how to ask them in order, because
Okay, September 2021, I went to the New Japan Strong tapings. And this was during, I don't know, the third or fourth Bullet Club Civil War, the one with like between Jay White and Tama Tonga. And so
yeah.
I was tweeting about the show and I conveyed the substance of Jay White's promo, which was that he is the leader of Bullet Club, he makes the decisions, and that certain unnamed people would do well to remember that. And then Tama Tonga discovered this tweet and quoted it and said, I don't know, something like "says who," which I'm like, hey man, I'm just the messenger.
I would not fuck with Tama Tonga. He is the son of Haku, so he knows what to do.
No kidding.
Oh Lord. So yeah, that really wouldn't really wasn't the best one there.
No.
Um,
What a This is like that AEW pay-per-view where they had like a really, really great pay-per-view and then put that butt cheeks Cope and Mox match on last.
I just saw the tweet you sent to Dave. We know, Dave, but Ari and I have a podcast to do, and you try to find something else interesting to say about 84 World Class TV.
Seriously, Jesus.
Oh Lord.
I had to
By
watch
the way,
All Japan to find something to say about World Class.
who was it that wanted to come on the show and talk about was it Gino Hernandez?
Yes, our friend Lizzie Flanagan. She has a forthcoming biography on Gino Hernandez, and I hope that when the book comes out, we can get her on the show.
As long as she says yes, she can be on the show. She could be on the show now if she wanted to. Or not that picky.
That's true. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Uh, by the way, I wish Iron Sheik was still with us. Just for all this recent shenanigans with Iran.
Right. Yeah, that would have been entertaining. I wish Cheeky Baby
Yeah,
was with us for reasons.
because he might have shared his special medicine with you.
Yeah, Iranian tobacco.
Oh. Alrighty. We're only 81 minutes into the show. I feel like we have to talk about something else. Um,
You got anything else? Did you talk to me about everything? You want to? Should I talk about my pro wrestling sim game?
sure, why the hell not?
So yeah, if you played Total Extreme Warfare, it's a similar vein. It's on Steam. Check it out. It came out a few years ago, and I bought it when it came out and looked at it a little bit, and then there wasn't really anything going on left yet. But in the years since, like it's come along, and it's got an active mod community. So I've been wanting to play like a game, so I decided to start one and I found a really cool, thorough scenario that starts in 1992 and it's meant to be like playable forward. And so I started as WCW January 1st, 1992, and we're gonna now what we should do is since you are the author of what is it? What's the title?
40 years of pay-per-view. Book 1, 1985 through 1990. Book 2, 1991 through 1994 is on its way, I promise.
Right. So as I go through history, I thought that maybe we might do a little segment where I go through my version of WCW pay-per-views and you tell me how you think the card compares to the historical version.
Sure, why the hell not?
There we go.
Have you done a pay-per-view yet? Have you made it to Super Brawl 2?
I have not gotten to Super Brawl yet, but the way the game starts, it's this is not exactly accurate, but the way the game starts, it starts on January 1st, 1992. So like the first shows are like Power Hour on the 3rd and then on the 4th Saturday night. And then also because it's January 4th, WCW Japan Super Show. So I got to book that show. And then because WCW and New Japan are partner promotions, I did have access to the New Japan roster. So I actually think I did a pretty cool card here, but I did not write it down, so I need you to give me just a second to launch the game so I can click the card.
Okay, but only 1 second, because I don't know if we can afford you 2 seconds. By the way,
Sure.
Sheamus and Handsome Rusev apparently had a square off backstage on Raw.
Oh, how about that? Okay, hold on. All right. Should we read the results of the WCW Japan show from our timeline first?
But the real one or the year timeline?
From our timeline, from the original timeline.
Okay, so the darkest timeline. Let
Yeah.
me pull that up here. 1 second. Gotta blow my nose. Okay. That was definitely some nose blowing action over here. Alrighty. So let's see here. We're just going on the pay-per-view, or are we going to tell you the dark matches too?
No, just the pay-per-view.
Okay, so the first match, Jushin Thunder Liger, Masashi Ayogi, I butchered that one, I'm sure, and Akira Nogami defeated Hiro Saito, Super Strong Machine, and Norio Hanaga in a 6-man tag match. Then the Enforcers, Arn Anderson and Larry Zbyszko, defeated Ohara and Shiro Koshinaka. Then Dusty Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes defeated Masa Saito and Kim Duck, which I bet was just horrendous. Speaking of horrendous, Big Van Vader took on El Gigante. Then Lex Luger defeated Masa Chono to retain the WCW World Heavyweight title. And in the main event, apparently, Sting and the Great Muta defeated the Steiner brothers.
Okay, well, there's decent stuff on that card.
Indeed.
Okay.
And then
ready to hear mine?
We didn't have to watch Tony Halama versus Scott Norton or Shinya Hashimoto versus Bill Kazmaier.
I want to see what Shinya Hashimoto did with Bill Kazmaier. That sounds entertaining.
I bet it was, for lack of a better word.
Okay, alternate WCW Japan Super Show. And I will say, on the game, you do have arenas, and because of the way the game works with popularity, I wasn't going to take the hit of renting the Tokyo Dome when I wasn't going to fill it. So I did change the venue to like something the equivalent of Korakuen Hall.
Cheapskate.
But we can just pretend. Anyway, the opening match, Jushin Thunder Liger defeated Brian Pillman. All right. Second match.
That's a quality match.
Toshiaki Kawada made his WCW debut, defeating Arn Anderson.
I bet that was a banger.
Sting defeated the Pegasus Kid.
Huh. That might explain why Benoit becomes a horseman in a few years.
The Steiner brothers defeated Vader and Bam Bam Bigelow.
Good old Haas match right there. Big meaty men slapping meat.
The Great Muta defeated Cactus Jack.
I wonder if they ever wrestled
They did not.
in real life.
I am 90%. Unless there's something in 89 when they're both in WCW. Mick was in WCW in 89, right?
At the very
They
end.
were both heels, though. They were both heels, so they probably didn't wrestle. Anyway, for the WCW World Tag Team Championship, the champions, Ricky Steamboat and Dustin Rhodes, defeated Hiroshi Hase and Kensuke Sasaki. Then in the I'm sorry, go ahead.
Now let's say you had wanted to do a title change there. Could they have, even though you don't have the Japanese wrestlers signed to regular contracts, could they have taken the belts to New Japan and defended them there until you brought them back to lose?
They can win the titles. I am not sure if they will defend them outside your promotion. Probably not, but that would be cool.
Go ahead.
In the semi-main event, Rick Rude defeated Masahiro Chono to retain the United States Heavyweight Championship.
I wonder if that's the good Rick Rude Masachono match or the bad Rick Rude Masachono match.
68%, I'm going to say somewhere in between. Because
I mean,
one of those was very, yeah.
It's in the
one of those was
Tokyo
very
Dome,
good and one
so
was bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
One was a match of the year, the other was a worst match of the year.
And then in the main event, Antonio Inoki defeated Lex Luger to win the WCW World Heavyweight Championship.
Indeed he did. Indeed he did.
So that was the first pay-per-view.
Now, how did the American fans react to such a thing?
Well, the total rating was 75%, so good, I guess. I don't have the breakdown by region in front of me, but overall, and that would be mostly based on American fan. I don't know if I have any TV coverage in Japan, so I would say it was successful.
Interesting. I would say perhaps you should have, rescheduled that for later in the year once you had more coverage in Japan. Because putting 900 people in the Tokyo Dome, Trey, that's not good.
Hey, I put 1,700 people in the Tokyo Dome. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to besmirch you like that.
I forgive you.
Oh, Lord. Alrighty. So now we got 90 minutes. I think now we can call it a day. Yeah, so hey, did you know that there's been new episodes of the Oh My God cast out recently?
Heard about that. OhMyGodcast.com.
Yes, ohmygodcast.com. Check it out. And then Cindy and I kick off year 2 of TNA tomorrow. May God have mercy on our souls.
All right. You are kicking off year 2 of TNA, and Ben and I just kicked off year 2 of Eastern Championship Wrestling.
I'm going to bet ECW's 94 is a lot better than TNA's 2003.
I think you're right.
Although technically you're not at your anniversary until like April, because like the first show was like what, April 7th, right?
What show?
The ECW show.
Oh yeah, that's true. But yeah,
Who cares about being
year.
technical?
The second calendar year.
Yeah, there we go. All right, so that's going to do it for this week. I do want to thank everyone for listening. Talk to you on Thursday with Smoky Mountain, and we'll see you guys again in 7 days.
Bye.